just as we're coming back. Hi, Joan. It's Marjorie.
Hi, Marjorie. Good to see you. It's Doug Kerr. How are you?
Look at you, Doug Kerr. It's Leslie looking right back at you. Good to see you. Hello.
This is like a love fest.
I know, it really is, isn't it?
Doug, what's with the beard, Doug?
I like the hair.
I'm trying to catch up with you, Dave.
Oh.
I'm catching up with you down here. How are you doing up here?
So we want to welcome you all back. I know that, as I was saying to Julian and Kathy that were in my group, wow, 8 minutes flew by. The introduction took almost longer than our chance to be able to talk about our one item that we really wished we had. Although it was interesting that in our group, we did have some repetition on what people wanted. So part of why we've asked you to do this is because we are going to give you a chance to explore our new Facilitator Toolkit in a few minutes. And so thinking back to the items that you wish you had would be one way when we're exploring, and we're going to have you do a little scavenger hunt. You can look to see if those items are in there, but then we also are always looking for that opportunity to see if there are other things that maybe might need to be added. So in a moment, what we're going to do is we will send you to another breakout. But before we do that, we're going to explain a little bit about how we came to developing the new Facilitator Toolkit. So I'm going to pass it back to Mavis.
Thanks, Judy. Okay. There we go. Okay. So first of all, just really want to send a shout out to the ISW executive group. So Nancy, Jill, Jan, Diane. Uh-oh, did I miss somebody? That was it. I think it was, yeah. For their support and for recruiting us to do this work, which was really a joyful adventure. And really, we had a wonderful global team. You can see we've got our little map here. And so, of course, finding meeting times was always fun, so that nobody had to come in too late or too early. And I think we've got a few people from our group here. Catherine, are you there? Catherine Ozels, I think, is there.
Yep.
Doug's here, Doug Kerr. Fauzia, I think I saw you there somewhere coming to us from Karachi.
Yes, I'm there.
Great,
Yes.
nice to see you
Thank
again. Carrie Ann from Jamaica, are you online with us? I can only see one screen at a time, and I know there's 4 screens of participants here. Kiran, I think was coming.
He's also from Pakistan.
Yes.
I'm here.
Yeah, great. Hi.
Hi.
And Terry Aitchison, I think, is here, coming to us from Ontario. Anyway, we had a really nice group, and there were other folks as well. Michelle from the Fraser Valley, Rebecca from Ottawa, Carol Appleby, I think, might be here. Daniel from Qatar, Kenneth from Vancouver, and Martha from Ontario. So we had a nice global group, which was wonderful. So what Judy and I did, we started our work back in June, and we did a needs survey, and I know some of you participated in that. So we sent a survey out to the whole community, and we were thrilled to get 72 responses. And we really did that to just help focus our work and meet the needs of the community. And so once we did that, people got together, self-selected into groups to complete that work. So we thought we'd just share a bit of the survey here, just the primary results. And you can see, you know, there was, these are like over 60% interest in having something on logistics, interest in having something on community building activities, icebreakers, that sort of thing. A bit higher interest in promoting participatory learning, so active learning, some game-based learning, other activities to achieve the outcomes. Theme sessions, presentation of those, there was also high interest. That's getting up to 80%. And then the highest interest was in workshop format, scheduling, sample agendas, that sort of thing. And then also giving and receiving feedback. And that was actually something that came up in my breakout room just now. So we focused on those 6 areas. And so the groups really, they self-selected. They kind of managed themselves to get the work done, which was really wonderful. We met a few times through the project and really shared ideas, brainstormed. We had questions for each other, and it was really Judy, I'd say a really nice collaboration, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great
Absolutely.
cooperative effort.
Yeah.
So when we finished in July, well, it went on into the summer a little bit, but when we finally finished and got everything into what's posted now on the website, we did a summary, and that's also on the website. So we just met online because of COVID, and that worked really well, and people did that on their own. So yeah, so Judy, I'll just let you go to the next one.
So one of the things that we wanted to be able to share with you was what was included in our 6 topic areas. So we developed as part of the toolkit based on the survey feedback. As Mavis said, we self-selected. So individuals in our little work bee decided that they wanted to work either on one area. A couple worked on 2 areas. There was a couple of people who actually wanted to work in 3 different areas. And so the 6 topic areas that you will see in the actual toolkit involve one being active learning. And so you'll see in there that there are a number of different approaches and techniques in order to try and foster active learning with the participants. There is a toolkit on building institutional support for ISWs. We do know that some people are sort of on the early stage of implementing ISWs in their institutions or their agencies, so that some are much further along. But if you're at the beginning and you're starting to build institutional support, who are those stakeholders? How should you go about this? And what are some tools and tips? And so that's included in that second one. We have one on building community support, community building, in the ISW, and how do you help the individuals that are within the ISW learning from each other and with each other to be able to collaborate better and become a little more cohesive. And so there are all sorts of really great tips and tools in that toolkit. Interesting, Mavis, you mentioned that in your group you were talking about giving and receiving feedback, and that was actually identified in my little breakout room as well. And so we do have a toolkit on giving and receiving feedback and appreciative feedback, including even, thinking about doing feedback on an electronic device and doing a video recording, which, 20 years ago was just not even an option. So one of the benefits of technology today, not only that during COVID that we could be meeting like this, and that there is even a virtual ISW toolkit. So I know Alice is here and she was involved as one of the co-leads for that. So there is a toolkit for that as well outside of this, but great to have that technology. There's also one of the topic areas was theme sessions. And so you'll see in there all sorts of different theme sessions for an ISW. And then the last one was pretty pragmatic on sort of workshop format and logistics that you need to be thinking about, scheduling, that sort of stuff is in the 6th toolkit. So we're just going to go to the next screen here, and what you'll see is sort of the table of contents. So we tried to keep it very user-friendly. And in the table of contents, it basically lists all the items based on the category. So right now we're looking at the active toolkit. I know that's really small, but you are going to have a chance to go in and explore them. But what you'll see is, what student engagement would look like and, participatory formats. There are active learning strategies for sort of the classroom that you can use in ISWs or even in teaching, games for learning assessment. And there's a whole slew of items, including website links and books. And so each of the toolkits, you'll see, we're going to send you to a Padlet link, but on the website, when you're exploring individually on your own, we've tried to keep both a PDF and a Word document so that you have the chance, if you want to extract something, that you can remove it in a Word and be able to use it a little more friendly without having to do a PDF and sort of copying and pasting or having to retype stuff. So both are available. But that's just sort of an overview of what that toolkit would look like.
Great, thanks,
David's going to
Judy.
hand it back to you.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move into our next activity for you, and Jan's going to put you into breakout rooms. And so this is a little bit of a scavenger hunt. I'm just going to go forward one slide, and so that folks can see the questions. Jan will put this in the chat as well. We've given you 16 questions. You've got about 12 minutes to work with your group to find the answers. And I may have a prize. There might be a prize. Oops.
And all of the items except one are found in the various toolkits. So one of them
Yes.
is a little bit of a challenge to see if you can remember 5 minutes ago. And for some of us, that's a little bit more of a challenge than for others.
Yeah.
But you are going to be sent into your breakout rooms. And the plan will be to give you 12 minutes. But if we're finding that that's not enough, then we can extend it. We have built in a little bit of a leeway, but we're thinking that when Mavis and I did a dry run, that 12 might be a good number with 2 minutes to sort of wrap up. So we hope you'll enjoy exploring, and we will see you soon.
And as Judy mentioned, we're going to ask you to access the documents through the Padlet. And I think, Jan, are you putting that link in the chat?
Yes, the link's in the chat, and the scavenger hunt questions are in the chat as well.
Great. All right. So we'll see you in about 12 minutes or so. Have fun.
Well, that was fun.
Did it work for you or not?
What a great, yeah, it did. And
Good.
I guess there was some confusion whether we should be putting our answers in the Padlet, which I saw other groups doing, but then we realized number 16 you couldn't really put.
Sorry, I didn't make my instructions explicit there.
No, but you know, the point was exploring that Padlet and just seeing the level of organization from seeing that toolbox before Christmas to how it is now. It's quite improved. It's really well organized and well laid out.
Oh,
So
great.
thank you for that.
Yeah, it really is, folks. You've done a great job.
Well, lots of help, lots of hands on this project, and so we're sure grateful for that.
And we know we're going to go through some of those answers, and we know you did not have nearly enough time to go through the whole scavenger hunt. So we do totally recognize that. And in hindsight, our dry run, maybe it's because Mavis and I knew the content, seemed to go a lot smoother, and we were able to get through way more than you probably did. But part of that, as Adam was just alluding to, we really wanted you to have a chance to go in and actually start surfing through the material to see what was there. Not necessarily that you would have gotten all the answers, but we will go through them. So Mavis, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Yep. Okay. All right. So I'll just share the questions again. And I see a few people have had to leave, so thanks to them for joining us. All righty. So, yeah, Judy and I are just going to go over the questions and some of the answers for that. So 3 of the participatory formats, and I saw on the Padlet, people were finding all kinds of things. So things like structured go-rounds, the pairs, triads, small groups, gallery walks, jigsaw, etc. So that was all in the active learning toolkit. And the second question, what was one recommendation that came from the work bee? And so that was in the closing summary that was on the Padlet, and it had to do with housing video resources in a secure site. We're not sure what that is, but anyway, that was a recommendation because our group felt that there could be a lot of valuable video resources for new facilitators. And Jan, I'm just going to stop here. Are you looking at the chat? Because I'm not able to see it when I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, I am, Mavis. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. If there's any questions, just butt in.
No, I do have to just point out that, yes, Colleen made a great point that, you had the classic ISW experience of going through the frustration from the learner's perspective because you didn't get through everything. So yes, we totally knew that you would not get through all of it. And I love all the positive feedback that is coming through right now.
Thanks, Judy. Yeah, if you want to pop in anytime during this, please do. And one thing I did forget to mention, when I was talking about our work that the group did, we were really trying to complement what's in the handbook and just add to that. So, and thinking about, as a new facilitator, what would you need? So that was kind of our focus there. So back to question 3, what are 2 techniques that foster collaboration in a class? And that's in the, where am I here? Sorry. Active learning. And so some examples would be, there's quite a list, think, pair, share, buzz groups, among others. And number 4, in what ISW activity would you need toilet paper? And so that was in the community building toolkit. And it was one of the icebreakers, and it was the toilet paper intros on page 8.
And during COVID, that might have been a challenge when there was no toilet paper on the shelves, but fortunately, we're in this virtual world, it's a little bit easier and we can pick other options. Going on to item 5, what are 3 potential stakeholder groups with whom to engage if you wanted to promote an ISW at your institution? So that's actually found in the Building Institutional Support Toolkit. It's on page 3 to 4, and identifying faculty members, management, so deans, directors, provosts, VPs, as well as the importance of educational developers and CTL staff. Question 6, when students are engaged, what 3 things do they interact with? And so that is in active learning, and the items that were listed was the content, the instructor, and of course each other. Question 7, how did the Work Bee group decide on the topics for the new Facilitator Toolkit resources that were developed? So that's actually in our closing summary, also alluded to when Mavis was going over the overview, and that was that we did a survey of the ISW community, and there were over 70 responses, and input from all those responses is how we ended up deciding on what items, what areas should focus on in our Work Bee, and the executive then in collaboration with each other decided and discussed what the specific toolkit sections would be. And then question 8, what can a diversity wheel be used for? So many things. And that is in the theme session. It's located on page 14 of the document. And really where we're going with that is the cultural awareness, diversity, and the explanation of the importance of that is found on page 11.
Great, thanks. So going on to question 9, what are 2 icebreakers that can be used either in a face-to-face or an online ISW? And so we find that in the community building toolkit, and that was on page 14. So some of the icebreakers could be picture walk, the name game, or synchronous storytelling. So those were some that were in there. Question 10, what is the technique that enables critical thinking? That's in the active learning toolkit, pages 12 and 13, and it was PMI, plus, minus, and interesting. So that, I think that came to us from maybe Fauzia and her group.
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks for that. 11, what are the minimum hours and requirements for an ISW, for a workshop to be called an ISW? And that's in the toolkit for workshop format and logistics. And that comes to us from Jan and the executive. And so it is 24 hours. I saw people putting that on the Padlet. And there are also a number of other areas, the lessons, the experiential lesson delivery, feedback, etc. So really helpful guidelines if you're not sure what to include. It's very clear. So thanks to Jan and the group for that. And number 12, what is PQP? And that's a feedback method, and that's found in the Giving and Receiving Feedback Toolkit. That's on page 9, and it's praise, question, and polish. And so it allows participants to reflect on what their peers have delivered and provide some balanced feedback. I'll turn it back over to Judy.
Okay, looking at our last line of the scavenger hunt. So what is shaping up learning used for? And so that can be found in the theme sessions on page 23 of the document. And you provide the learners with a square, a circle, and a triangle. And the square is things that have squared up with my beliefs. The circle is questions that are still circling in my mind. And the triangle is points that I want to act on. So a great idea for sort of that reflective practice that I know had come up, at least in my little working group, is, items and things that we can do to help with some reflection. So that's shaping up, and that is found in the theme session. Question 14, what are 2 ways to stay connected after the ISW? I think one of the strengths of the ISW is what you're seeing here is that network and that team of collaborators from across the world, which is so much of the strength of the work that is done. And so staying connected is really important to that on so many accounts. And so that can actually be found in the community building toolkit on page 21. The ongoing group conversations, setting up a team site, continuing to share and add content through that, online conferences, social media connections, and we'd be remiss if we didn't include the ISW network. So, there's the listserv, and there is so many resources that are available on our listserv. If we get into question 15, what is one challenging situation you might encounter when conducting feedback? And that is can be found in the Giving and Receiving Feedback Toolkit on page 3 to 4. One of the examples was on Mark's first day at teaching, his car broke down. At first he stressed, but then so somebody starts the story going on, and the next individual then would complete from the previous line and add another sentence, with the goal of being that you have this nice flow story or narrative that actually makes sense, that follows from one to the other, but it requires that you actually have processed and listened to what the person said before and can think through what to add to that and develop that story. So really the focus is on trying to be able to give feedback and focus on concentrating on what people are saying and responding. And then the answer to question 16, I'm hoping that all of you remember the names of the people in your first group. I can tell you mine were Julia and Kathy, so hello to you two, and hopefully everybody got that answer correct.
Yes, and hello to Riley and Nagwa in my group.
And I love that people are putting who that was in the chat. You guys, that's great.
Super. Thanks, Judy, and thanks everybody for taking some time to explore the different toolkits. We hope that just gave you your toes a little dip into that, and that you can take some time afterward to explore some more.
So
Okay.
then our last breakout room is what we'd like you to do is, one of the valuable things about the network is continuing to be able to share resources and think about what else could we do next. And so in your last breakout room, again, we'd like you to introduce yourself to new people, and or maybe they're people you already know, but who you are. And then we'd like you to talk about what's one resource in the toolkit that you can't wait to try, or what further resources would you like to see added. And so we will send you back to a new breakout room, and we look forward to the discussions that you're having there, and then we'll bring you back into our main group. We'll see you soon.
Judy, do you want folks to type their ideas into the chat?
Sure. They can actually, if we can get, instead of all of them, it might be a lot to go through. So if you can maybe designate one individual in your breakout, then there'll be that many less, and type sort of the 3 ideas in there. That would be terrific. Thanks, Jan.
Thanks, Jan.
I just have to say hello to Russell. I have not seen you for ages and ages. Hi, Russ. Great to see you.
Hello, Doug. I think of you often.
Here we are, still muddling along, eh?
That's right. The hair getting longer.
Yeah. I've got quite a project on the go here. I'm trying to look sage in my old age.
You do. It suits you, Doug. Looks great.
Older age, Doug, not old age. Older age.
Okay, good enough.
Haven't you always been sage, Doug? I don't think it's age for you.
Don't know.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope that you had a good conversation in your breakout rooms, and again, another opportunity to meet other individuals and connect. I do see that some people may need to leave a few minutes early to go to their next meeting. One of the challenges with being online is they're always back to back. So we appreciate if you do have to leave. Thank you for joining us, and know that there are so many resources there available for you and others outside of just our toolkit. But for the remaining 10 minutes that we have, we wondered whether or not you'd like to share, if anybody wanted to, within your group, sort of talk about one resource or item in the toolkit, or if you're the individual who is sort of the designated reporter, if you want to put it in the chat instead, that is okay. But we do want to give you a chance sort of to open up the floor if anybody would like to sort of share what was discussed in their breakout room. So any takers, we'll ask you to unmute yourself and go ahead, and we'll give you a minute or so, and then hopefully we can give another person an opportunity.
I think if I could speak on behalf of our group or ask them to chime in, one of the considerations, and there's a lot of richness in the tools, but one of the things that we spent some time speaking about are looking at the resources and looking at those that would be best to deliver in the virtual format, online format, for folks that are new to the ISW program, since we all have a bit of reality with that. And I'm just putting that out there. I don't know if the rest of our group wants to chat in on that.
So actually, Alice, can I call on you? Only, sorry to put you on the spot, but Alice was one of the co-leads of the virtual ISW toolkit. So we had our work bee on new facilitator toolkit, but one of the other work bees was on a virtual ISW. So Alice, are you still with us?
I am, yeah.
Can I give you the floor to just sort of briefly tell them about what's all the amazing things in your Padlet and toolkit?
Well, and Shree's here too, and Shree actually created the Padlet. We, you can look at all the resources that our group put together in the same place where all of these great new facilitator tools are, on the ISW website. So there are sample schedules and tips. Shree, help me out, add a couple. I know we don't have a lot of time.
Well, I just put the link in the chat. It's also a Padlet, so there's minimum requirements and sample documents, demonstration mini lessons along with lessons, ISW topics, icebreakers and warmers, tips for teaching, some stuff about virtual meetings and conferencing, social connection. So some of the things that are unique to online, but many of the things that you would do in a face-to-face don't change a lot when you're online. There's a lot of overlap, but the toolkit does highlight the things that are useful for online.
Thanks, Sheree and Alice, for that. And Paul, I hope that helps. So there is another toolkit with so many more ideas. You will notice in this one that there are a couple places where it said this could be an online or face-to-face, virtual or face-to-face. So we did include that, but knowing that there was an entire other toolkit, hopefully that will be a great resource.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Does anybody else want to chime in? I see there's a couple of really great comments in the chat, but open it up again for another one more.
Oh, so we have to speak up? I tried to raise my hand on Zoom.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Angus.
Thank you. Yeah, just trying to be polite. So one of the things we talked about was how wide the network is and how much wider it could be. So it turns out we got government professionals, we got people from the corporate ladder, not just schools. So if it hasn't been done already, if we have these networks within networks, so like one for government professionals and what it means to be an instructor in that field, which might be different from, let's say, from a school for instructors. I think there was even one, even in the school, there's one ISW that's tailored for faculty and another that's tailored for, let's say, student services staff or something along those lines. So there's something like that already been in the works.
Jan, do you want to, Jan, or I know that Diane's online, Jill?
I'm sorry, folks, I was trying to do something else. So I heard the end of your discussion, Angus. What was the question specifically?
Okay, the question is, are there ways for us to build like more specific or specialized networks? Let's say some for different cultures, like some ISW network for, I don't know, Asia or Middle East, or ISW network for government professionals, ISW network for corporate professionals, or ISW for schools, or ISW for administrative staff, etc.
Okay, the thing that we have been talking about the most on the executive, and Diane and Jill jump in if you want to, is currently to encourage folks who are in individual regions to start building the networks within their regions. And that lets folks who are nearer to each other work together a little bit more across the different occupational backgrounds, if you will. We haven't looked at the other idea about networks for people working within particular areas, although I do know that some teams have, for example, within the government, I know they have teams of facilitators who work in the BC government who work in different areas in the BC government. So that's an option. And there are some other folks who are responding in the chat. One of the other things that comes to me from what you said very quickly is that it is possible to run ISWs focused on different participant groups, for example, grad students versus faculty, and the difference really there is the kinds of theme sessions that you run. And I see that Katrina had her hand up as well.
Hi, thank you. And my apologies if it's already here. I was very fortunate to slip in as a participant on the wait list. I was wondering if any of these, if in any of these resources, there was something to talk about a lot of the things that may become a challenge for students or instructors in the online context. So things like privacy, accessibility, and then also getting to the point of equity and inclusion.
So the equity and inclusion piece, there is a little bit in the toolkit. So that's under the theme sessions, that there's a little bit there. And then Cherie or Alice, I'm not sure if there's anything about the privacy issue in the online, but maybe Katrina, if we can get back to you and we can either put it in the chat or let you know. I am mindful of the fact that we have about 2 minutes left and we want to get through sort of the last 2 slides, but hang on. Actually, if you put the question in the chat, I'll make sure that when we download the chat that we'll get back to you.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Mavis, back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. And I just want to add one thing. I didn't get to put it in the chat, but in the breakout room I was in, Hannah wondered if there could be sort of some networking opportunities for, pretty new facilitators, meeting maybe once a month with a trainer and just kind of having a bit of a debrief, Q&A, talk about ISW session. So that was one idea that came forward when I was talking to Hannah. Okay. So we are at the end of our session, and man, that flew by really fast. But I want to thank everyone for coming. That was such a great turnout. And we just want to really thank the executive team and advisory committee. So the four ladies I mentioned before, Jill, Jan, Nancy, and Diane. And you know, just really for supporting this work and initiating it too, you know, just to really foster the sustainability of the network, the ISW network. So thank you very much for seeing that this work happens. And if you think of something after the workshop is over and you really would like to provide some feedback, you can go to the ISW network webpage. And if you've got comments or questions, you can see there is a contact tab. And if you drop that down, you can send a message, and that is monitored regularly by the executive committee, and they'll be able to get back to you. So I'll just take this opportunity to thank everyone for a great session. So nice to see lots of folks that I haven't seen for a while and reconnect. And Judy, I'll just let you have the last word.
Thanks. And a special thank you to all the members of our work bee and to Mavis. I mean, I've said it has been a really great learning experience. Even though, you know, you've done ISWs, to have the opportunity to collaborate and bring together ideas. And so thank you to everybody in our work bee who contributed to the toolkits that you see. And as Mavis said, feel free to contact the ISW, and I noticed in the chat there is a Facebook page for ISW, and I think one of the strengths is the network and the collaborators. So reach out to each other and continue to engage and share resources, and thanks for your dedication to ISWs.
I'll just add thank you very much to Mavis and Judy for facilitating the session today. You've got lots of thanks coming at you in the chat, folks. For those who want to stay around and visit for a little bit, we will stop the recording and we will leave it. The Zoom room will be open for up to half an hour afterwards if you'd like to chat with each other. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Jan.
Thank
Thanks, everybody.
I'd like to
Have a good
suggest
weekend.
everybody unmute and say thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful to see you all. Thank you so much. Be well.
Alice or Shri, I'm putting you on the spot again, but is there anything in your toolkit about privacy, confidentiality in the virtual setting for Katrina that she was asking about?
I'm not sure what her exact question is, but it's the same as it would be with any students. So you need to ensure highest level of confidentiality and security for student data. So depending upon your institution, if you're using an institutional LMS, it's already going to pass all of the requirements for security if it's in Canada.
We've had those, sorry to interrupt, we just had a lot of discussions about privacy and what are other things. It's just mostly like that's one of the areas that I work in ed tech, and so I was wondering if there are other areas, other just resources available in the ISW resources to talk about other. It's more the nuanced things that aren't necessarily the direct instructions, but also, you know, things like when you're doing your recordings, what to do when you think about storing that recording, who's on that recording, and then other things like accessibility. So making sure that the documents that you're using are accessible, having UDL practices. So when you're working with active learning, to just all of these other things that are, they've just been shaken out quite a bit even more as we're all on this, in this digital context. So I was just wondering if there was any section in there, because like I had said, I had missed, I hadn't had the opportunity to go through the resources just yet.
No, those topics are not, as you've explained them, directly addressed.
Okay.
But I think general teaching practices are that if you're doing something online, it should be universal design, and you have to think about accessibility. And privacy is important for sure. But that would require discussing the unique context of the platform you're using to deliver.
Right.
Because
Okay.
some come with all that stuff built in, like the privacy stuff built in, and some do not.
Right. That would be with the second question of the last slide was to ask, like, to recommend some resources. And so I just like to put that as a recommendation, just because a lot of the new instructors might not know, they might not have that experience of having to look at the more logistical aspects of the course. And there's a lot of things that might go up, like inaccessible documents and so forth. So even having, again, it's maybe with the logistics and also with some of the community building, like who to reach out to. I'm very grateful for the commitment that McMaster has made to really investing in EOI, accessibility, privacy, all the things that I've mentioned. But I don't know if that's like that everywhere. So just in case it isn't, and some of those things, if they're not first and foremost in a new facilitator's or new instructor's mind, it might be another good resource for them to have.
Katrina, I'll just ask you, if you haven't typed something about that in the chat, if you could just do that now, so that we have, when we look through the questions in the chat, we can make sure we look at that as well, please.
Sure. It's disabled right now, but I did put it. I did add the. What did I say? I think it's further resources with my name there.
Okay. I think if you click on the chat, it's still there. But thank you. Kieran has her hand up. Is she still with us, Kieran?
First of all, let me just put my video. First of all, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. I had two questions. So the first one is, do we have a platform where we can share some lessons learned and some things on the virtual ISW? Because we conducted an online ISW last year in October, and there were some things that worked and some things that did not work. So we tried to mirror the face-to-face one with the 7-day ISW, 3 hours each day. Some things went really well. Overall, it went really well, but there are some very important lessons about Zoom fatigue, about how the new faculty members who are participants might not be tech savvy. So when you ask them to teach their 10 minutes lesson online, half of that 10 minutes is gone in figuring out some tech issues. So I was just wondering, do we have a platform where we can maybe share those resources and put down those challenges, and maybe we can share our plan as well of how we developed it, and maybe because we've done those debriefing and reflections, so even we can share our ideas. The second question is,
Kieran, Kieran, can you just let me answer the first one first? Because I'll forget, I swear. We don't have anything yet, but it does occur to me that one thing we might do is put up a Padlet and invite people to share their experiences on the Padlet. So I'll talk about that with the other executive folks, and we'll get back to you. Can I ask you to also just write that in the chat as well?
Yeah, Jen, could you not just do that on the Facebook?
Yes,
on
but
the
not
ISW
everybody.
Facebook.
We could do that, Nancy, but not everybody's on Facebook. So
Okay.
we need to
But
talk
if you
about
are,
it. Maybe we have it
yeah.
in two places. We'll talk about it and get back to folks.
Okay.
Kieran, you had a second question.
Yes. So my second question was, from the Mentimeter results, there was one aspect of question prompts. And maybe I missed it out because I didn't get a chance to go through the entire Padlet wall. So is there any resource available on the question prompts? If not, I would love to contribute to start maybe giving out some questions, and maybe we can all build up our questions in it. So I wanted to know about that.
Mavis or Judy?
Yeah. Kieran, I saw your question, and sorry, I was doing a couple things, but no, I saw your question in there, and so you can submit those things through that contact page on the ISW network. website. And if you're having trouble doing that, you've got my email. You can send it to me and I can see that it gets there too. Yeah, so thanks.
You.
And thanks again for your contributions to the toolkit.
Most welcome. Most welcome.
So nice to see you again.
Yes, same here.
Kieran, if you could put that in the chat as well, that would be great.
I don't know. Somehow I see the chat is disabled.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's not working.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. So I thought maybe it's just me, but
I'm sorry, folks. It's not. I did nothing to disable it. So another weird Zoom thing. So okay, thank you. Maybe if you could send that, Kieran, to the contact ISW link, and we'll add it to the chat then. So thanks very much, everybody. Angus, you had something.
right. Just looking at the way Padlet works, this is more from a technical standpoint.
Yeah.
Where, for example, if you guys have the unlimited account where you pay $8 a month, one way we've seen how the Padlet worked for today's session, where people were just typing all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
No. There's a teachable moment here in that, there could be a Padlet for resources, right? Which is cool. But then could there also be a Padlet for, let's say, questions? So the way it works is really cool because you can type in real time and you can only change yours, but at the same time, everybody else's come up. So for the host, you can probably clean up or whatever, but you can see them all at once.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the categories like you did with your previous Padlet, like the toolkits or whatever, but then have specific questions, then Padlet itself, if you have the unlimited account, will be a great tool just to get all the questions up there. And so rather than having like a Facebook thing where it's in the thread format, the Padlet gives it a nice structure for the executives to look at the questions. Anyway, just from a technical standpoint.
Thank you, Angus. I'm gonna.
I put those in the chats. My chat seems to be working. I hope I didn't do anything. So I hope I captured well what Angus, you just said, and Kieran, what you had said.
Mm-hmm.
And I put them in the chats. And I would love to stay on. I am supposed to be in a meeting that started 10 minutes ago, and I said I was going to be running late. But I know Mavis has this under control, and between her, Jan, and Diana, I see so many great people there. But it has been wonderful to be able to do this collaboratively and get all your feedback. And I wish I could stay longer, but I need to sign off.
Oh, thank you,
Judy. Thank you.
You've been such a wonderful co-collaborator, and we are getting together for a virtual glass of wine soon.
I love that.